Okay, so recently Kevin O'Leary was on the Diary of a CEO offering his idea on how much money should you be spending on a home. Now, the first property that I purchased was 145K. We paid that off pretty quickly. The second house that we purchased was 160K. We paid that off within about 10 years. The third house we bought 320K cash. The fourth property was a close to $1 million commercial property, which we own outright. We paid that off within about 7 years. And then now we just put down 50K on a property that is a 50-acre land development that we're gonna end up spending well into the 3 to 4 millions on. But listening to Kevin O'Leary describe how much money an average person should put down, it's really important for financial aspects for normal people. It's one of those questions that we ask a lot, but we never really think through what it means. Okay, so first thing that I think everybody could do is say, okay, what is he actually saying? He's saying, 25% gross, 30 to 35% of your take home after taxes. That's the highest you should go as far as like the absolute highest that you should go as far as what you should pay monthly for a home. Second aspect that he talked about, and Stephen Bartlett brought this up, he said, should we look at this as a financial thing? And he's like, yeah, it's a financial thing, sure, whatever. You gain this asset that you pay into, but really the only asset that's growing is when you're actually paying off the actual mortgage aspect. If you're paying principal, you still don't have an asset. So we've got to recognize that. Now, his whole stance is that we should not worry about it as a financial investment, but more so, it's providing stability for raising a family. And that's really, really important. Okay, that's very, very important. I think a lot of people that are in the realm of financial thought sort of override that. They don't think through that lens as well as they possibly could. Now, the thing that he talks through, and he says, 35% of that take home. Now, if we're thinking about a home, you're gonna be paying for a mortgage, okay? You're gonna be paying for your taxes, you're gonna be paying for your insurance, and then you're gonna be paying for maintenance, okay? I look at a mortgage ownership of owning a home the same way as like flying Frontier or Southwest. You have this idea, like I'm going on the vacation, I'm gonna save all this money on the Frontier flight, and you're flying to Hawaii or whatever it is that you're going, and you're going, I'm gonna save a lot of money. Look at this ticket, the face value of the ticket is $200 round trip to Hawaii, wherever, right? But then you end up packing a bag, then you got your carry-on, they charge you $100 for a carry-on, they charge you $200 for the pack in the bag to put down below. And then you got you sneeze when you're on the flight, and they charge you $10 for a freaking goddamn tissue, and you're going, man, I spent as much on this Frontier flight, and you end up having your flights canceled or delayed, so you got to get a hotel, and they don't cover your hotel either. So then you're just sitting here going, like, man, going with Frontier, I didn't save that much money. And that's a lot of what happens when you own homes, is that you think you're saving all this money, by not renting. And you're not really saving that much money. But again, it's not a financial investment. It's providing stability for a family. I actually think if you're single, though, you probably should just rent and just save a shit ton of money and put it into the freaking market. Now, what he talks about is he says, okay, those are the four things, right? So we're gonna have the mortgage, interest, okay? Well, the mortgage / interest, the insurance. You're gonna have upkeep and maintenance and taxes, okay? So those are the things that we've got to factor in. So let's pretend we're the average American. $115,000. Two people are in the household that are making money. So you get 115K. So what's that leave us with? That's about 80K after taxes, right? So now we're looking at 80K. So that's about $6,000 a month, right? That we get to play with. So from that, we've got to look at 35%. So 35% of this is what we get to work with. That gives us around $2,300. If my math is accurate, I think it's $2,300. It might be a little bit less. So if we're looking at $2,300 a month, okay, I think back to my first mortgage that was on a 145K property. That was the best house, first house to own. That was easy. It was $650 a month. Second property was a 20-year mortgage. It was just under $1,000 a month, okay? Third property, again, we paid cash, so we didn't get out a mortgage. We should have, but we didn't. So I'm looking at that right now. I'm going, okay, that's pretty reasonable. But then you go look at the stock market, or not the stock market, you go look at the real estate market. So now you say, okay, what is the average cost of a home in May or June of 2025? Okay, and you're looking at it, you're going, and this is across the whole country. So this is going to change depending on the region. You can comment down below, well, in my area it costs 700K. Well, in my area it costs 200K, whatever it is. On average, in the United States, the average home is selling for around $350,000 to $380,000. Okay, so let's say 380, and you got to put down 20%. Okay, so 20% is about 75 grand. So now let's just say you're looking at $300,000 to $304,000 is what you're gonna have to get for the loan. So first, you better have your financial I's dotted and your financial T's crossed so that you can in turn save that $76,000 cash. Okay, so you save that $76,000 cash so that you're then able to actually purchase something. Okay, so that's another big one. And you probably should have over 100K cash saved up so that you're able to freaking have that emergency fund, still have sustenance after you put out that money. But going back to what that number would look like for the average American, so we're looking at a house at 380 on an average income of about 115. Okay, so then we're looking at 380, 115. So now we're looking at, you put $75,000 to $76,000 down, you get a mortgage, the loan value ends up becoming around $304,000. I'm doing a lot of math in my head, which ends up being based off a 6.3 interest rate right now. If we would purchase it right now, about a 6.39 interest rate, you would end up having monthly around a $2,100 mortgage to $2,300, $2,400 mortgage, depending on taxes and stuff like that. So we're looking at taxes, okay, and we're looking at insurance, and we're looking at the mortgage, and then we're not even factoring in maintenance. We're basically all but at the number if we're buying a 380, and that's the average price. That's the average house. That's probably a 1,200 to 1,400 square foot house. And so I hear this and I go, $2,000 mortgage for your first property, for your first house, is a lot. Now, when I first heard Kevin O'Leary say this, I was like, wow, that's a great number. But then I started looking at the market. Wow, the market's crazy. It's starting to change. It's starting to become more favorable towards buyers, but it's still like really freaking high. The interest rates haven't been cut, and maybe if they have a cut to the Fed in September, we might see something change relatively soon after as far as what we're looking at with mortgage rates. But then you're looking at $2,000 plus a month for a 1,200, 1,400 square foot area. That's not great. So what do you do? What do you do? There's two things you can do. One, what do I always say? You gotta make more money than you spend. Okay, you gotta make more money if you want a bigger place. Or two, guess what you do? You buy a small house and you make it so that you buy a smaller house and you can pay it off in 20 years. What did I say on the second property that we purchased was a 20-year mortgage. When you pay on a 20-year mortgage, you can pay it off faster, okay? It's much more favorable to you as the buyer. And the other thing I wanted to bring up here is that both the first house, okay, the first house that we purchased, 3-bedroom house, 2 baths, perfect, tiny, 1,200 square feet. The house that we live in right now, 890 square feet. It's a Sears and Roebuck house called the Griffin. You can look it up, the Griffin. And it's 880, 900 square feet. It doesn't cost, we heat it with a wood stove. It's so small, we heat it with a wood stove. We only have 1 bathroom. We made a lot of sacrifices, but you can make a lot of sacrifices between the ages of 20 and 45. You can sacrifice a lot to then on that backside have a lot more money. Now, the other thing is, the average American's working 34 hours a week. we could work 15 to 20 hours a week and increase our income. So now that we can take that from a $2,100 a month mortgage to a $2,600 a month mortgage, possibly. Is that worth it? Unlikely. It's because once you end up getting into a small house and you're getting comfortable in a small house and you're proud of your small house and you're paying that small house off faster, and then you actually have an asset that you can use later on if you want to, but you don't need to because it's your home where you're going to raise your family. And when you live in a smaller house, your family's a lot tighter. So these are things that we have to think through. So reacting and thinking through what Kevin O'Leary provided, really actually you sit there and you go, this is a very, very sensible thing that we could all strive towards. Okay, yeah, and guess what? You have that number set. And when you have the number set, you don't change it. Okay, you don't sit there and try and cut deals with yourself. You don't sit there and try to change what that means so that you can have a bigger house, because you don't freaking need it. So I hope that helped everybody out there. I wanted to just offer this up there. Remember, it's 35% of take-home income. So take-home is after taxes. Figure out what that is, put that number into the calculator, 35% of that, that would be everything. So that's another thing, a couple of times I've mentioned, it's the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. So you got to factor in all of those different things, and then that's going to provide the lens, that's going to be the filter that you're looking for a property through. Don't look bigger than that. Put that restriction on. Hold that in your rearview mirror and make sure that you're seeing it all the time, and that's going to help you make a better financial decision for you long term. I hope this helped somebody out there in their home purchase. Peace.